Hey, what's up? It's Vaslav here, and this is second part of the video about automating heating in Home Assistant. In the first video we spoke about hardware. We have installed the Danfoss valves to the radiators that were controlled by Z-Waves, and I showed you how you can hack the boiler to control it remotely. I also showed you how the heating works. And today we're gonna take a look at what we can do with that, how we can take all of those controls and automate them so the house reacts smartly on the presence of the people in the house, time of day, and so on. So let's look at what we've got. So we have those thermostats. They show the set temperature. So currently it's 22 on one of them, 21.5 on the other. So I can change that, I can set it to 22. And then I have the heating, it's currently on, so I can turn it off and I can turn it on. That's all we have right now. Okay, that's cool, right? I can set the temperature for each room or for each radiator from a mobile phone or from a web page, and I can remotely turn the heating on and off. Well, maybe it's cool, but it doesn't help much because I have to still control that manually. So what I wanted this to work automatically, and to do that I have designed this simple dashboard where I created a little panel for each room, and in that room I put all the thermostats that are in there, and there is also a control where I can set up temperature, high temperature for the day, and a low temperature for the night, and I can set those to different temperature I want, and I can do that for every room separately. And then the temperature in each room is controlled by this button that is switches between day and night. So if I would push this button, currently it's a day, so it's set for the high temperature. And if I would push the night button, I'm doing it manually here, but normally it will be controlled automatically based on when people come, when people leave, and so on. Then the target temperature is set to the high or low based on this setting. Currently the temperature is quite high because it's a sunny day, and I pulled up the shades. Then I can choose from different modes. The one I use most often is Echo, which basically sets the boiler, turns it off and on depending on whether the temperature on the thermostats is higher than the threshold or not. So as you see, currently the heating is off. You can also see it on the front page. There is no flame, it's off because the temperature is higher. If the temperature would drop in at least one of those thermostats below some range that is in here, then the boiler will start heating again. Then I have a mode Auto, and as you see, the switch for the heating is turned on right now. I don't think the boiler is heating because the temperature is really high. But what it does is it will basically switch on the automatic boiler program in case someone is home. As you can see, currently someone is home, so the automated program in the boiler is turned on. If no one is home, if people leave, then it will do the same thing as the Echo. And the reason why I have that is if there are some rooms that do not have this temperature sensor and thermostats, I can basically fall back to the automation built in the heating system and rely on that to make sure that there is no cold in those other rooms, right? Then I have a mode on and off, which basically means what it says. Off means it'll turn it off, and on it'll turn it on regardless of someone is home or not. And then there is one which is called vacation, which is similar to Echo, except that it will set the temperature to another threshold that I have set here centrally for all the thermostats, and it won't change during the day, so it'll keep this low temperature all the time. So this is in case we are on vacation, we can set it. It will turn off the boiler until the temperature gets really low, and it will set the temperature on thermostats on 18 degrees in this case, but I can change that, right? This is all configurable. So let me switch back to the eco mode and let's discuss about how I did that. Okay, so we have all the controls, all the switches that you can turn on and off, and all the controls where you can enter the different numbers, different temperatures. But that's all it is. It's just controls. They don't do anything yet. There is no logic behind that. And this is something we need to do now. I have split it into two parts. One is which controls the, what I would call the front end. So the logic which decides which switch should flip on, when and what time, depending on when someone leaves, someone comes, what is the mode, what is the time of the day. At night it will switch to the night mode, and in the morning it'll start heating again. So this flipping switches, this is one part, and I have done that in a Node-RED. The technical part I have done on a back end, and I did it in the AppDaemon, and this is the one which basically sends the information and sets the target temperatures of the thermostats. It will set the current temperature of the thermostats, check the current temperature, and decide whether the boiler should be turned on and off depending on the mode and so on. So I wrote this one. I will share that with you. There's going to be a link in the description below. I'm going to show you how to configure, how to use it. I'm not going to go into the code, although I think it might be interesting as well. So what I'm going to do is I will make another video which I'm going to share here in the corner, and there I will walk you through the code, because it might not be for everyone. But I think it's AppDaemon. I'd like to show you that AppDaemon is nothing magic, nothing so difficult. If you know a little bit about programming, then you can use it. So I'm gonna give you this little bit of introduction into how you automate in AppDaemon, and I will do that by walking you through this program. So I'll be interested to see how many people go and see that video. So with that said, let's go and see on the first part how I did the front-end automation in Node-RED. Okay, so before we start, there is one thing I wanted to clarify. In one of the previous videos, I've got some comment that, oh, I can't use that because I don't use Node-RED. That's not the case. You will see that it's very easy to do in standard Home Assistant automation. I like to do it in Node-RED for one reason. I found Node-RED easier to understand, especially when you look at it after some time. So when you're coding it, when you're making the automation in YAML, you understand perfectly what you do, how you do that. But if you come after 2 weeks, it takes some time to understand what you're looking at. And in here in Node-RED, this is much easier. And the second reason is I think you can do even complex automation in Node-RED and they still look clean and easy to understand. If you do something complex in YAML, if you can achieve that, you can get lost in that and it's very difficult to find some errors. So for those reasons I chose Node-RED, but again, if you don't use it, there's nothing preventing you from doing it somewhere else. So I have a couple of automation scripts, I think 4 in here. The first one, and I'll start here from the middle, there is a schedule. So at night, from midnight till 5:30 in the morning or 6:30 on the weekend, it will be on. So there is a block, and what it does is when the switch is on, so it means it's the night, then it will turn off all the switches. So it will turn all the switches to the low temperature, to the night mode, if you will. There's one little block which I have in all of those, and what it does is it's checking, and let me show it to you. It's checking whether the heating is in one of those, in eco, auto, or on. So if I am not in one of those modes, the script will basically not execute. So this is one simple block that I have everywhere. And then I have the switch and I'm turning off all the switches. There is one more interesting thing I would like to share with you. Here I have one turn off block which has as an entity ID, it's using payload. And what it does is I have this one block in here that has this JSON string which loads the different payloads into that turn off block, and there is a splitter in between, so it kind of creates a loop that will turn off all of those switches. So that's one way of turning them off. The other way is if I set the alarm on, and again it's in the right mode, and if I set it on and it's evening, so again I have some schedule in here, so it's from 9 p.m. until midnight, so after midnight this one is going to take over, then it's going to do the same thing. So that's the switching based on the time. In the morning, so there's the off, which turns it off, and there's the on. In the morning, it'll turn them back into the day or high temperature, but it does it only if people are home. So if someone is home, anyone, it will do the living room and the gallery upstairs. In the bedrooms of the children, it will do it only if they're home. There's another one for the main bedroom, but I do that one slightly differently because there I'm not heating during the day, even if you're home. So this is heating only in the evening and only if you're home. So similar thing, but just different schedule. So this was based on the time schedule. And then there is automation based on when people leave. So when someone leaves the house, it will set the temperature to low. So it'll turn off the switch. Again in different rooms, and if everyone is out, it will do all the common rooms. And then there is a similar one when people come. So when someone comes, and again checking the mode, then I'm turning the heating on in the respective rooms. And in the bedroom I only do it during the evening, obviously. And it's all there is. Now that was easy, wasn't it? Now let's go to see the other part, the back-end part in AppDaemon. What does the AppDaemon do? You actually saw it because when I was showing you the dashboard previously, I did have the AppDaemon enabled. And the reason for that was I thought it was much easier to explain you how the dashboard works. So I have disabled this now. Now you see the dashboard without the AppDaemon. And so when I click on the day, night, you see that it doesn't change the temperature target. If I change the mode to on, it doesn't turn on the heating. You know, the heating is not on. It doesn't do anything. It's just the controls, as I was saying. The other thing which you might have noticed is the thermostats. They are very basic. They only see the target temperature, but they do not see the current temperature. They do not see the heating mode. This is how the standard Danfoss thermostat look like out of the box when they are connected from the Z-Wave. I'm adding this additional information through the AppDaemon script. So right now, out of the box, I can change the target temperature, but it doesn't do anything. So if I turn on the AppDaemon, I'm gonna just turn it on, and you will see that very quickly. It will update the dashboard, it will set the temperature based on the day-night, it will update the temperature from the sensors, and it will have the information about the heating already there. So this is what the AppDaemon does. It turns on and off the heating. It sets the target temperature in all of those thermostats, and it adds the current temperature to the thermostats. So how do you get the AppDaemon? Let me show you how you can get it installed. So I have this GitHub repository which is linked down there below, and it contains the AppDaemon script in here. And it also contains instructions for the installation. So you install AppDaemon, there's a documentation for it. I'm not gonna explain it now, but I will be explaining in the other video which has been linked to this one, so you can look in there. Then you configure it, because obviously I didn't want to write it to hard code names of all of those switches, so they are part of configuration. So there are parameters like switch heating, where you would enter the name of the entity ID for the heating switch, for the Boolean operator, whether someone is home or not, the heating mode selector, the switch for the vacation, and then configuration of the individual rooms. So all the thermostat in those rooms, the temperature sensor, and the controls for switching between day and night, and the two controls for day and night temperature. So all of that is explained in here. You could configure it. You can also change the name of the modes. So if you want to name that differently than on, off, auto, eco, vacation, then it's explained here as well. So all you need to do is take this directory from here. You can just clone and download as a zip. It'll download to your desktop. And then you put it in your AppDaemon directory, in the config, AppDaemon, apps, in heating. You put those two files in here. And then you have the configuration. So this is what I was explaining in the documentation. I have two rooms configured in here. So the living room and the gallery upstairs currently. So this is what I have configured here. I've tried to make it quite flexible through the configuration so other people can use it as well, hopefully. But if it doesn't work for you, the other thing which you can do is you can take my file and you can change it to your needs. I made this video where I'm explaining how it works, so if you want to do that, I invite you to watch that. I'm not gonna go through it now, but I'm gonna show you two things which are main parts of this script, so that you will see that it's actually not difficult. Take it as this sort of introduction into AppDaemon. So there is two parts. One is updating the heating. So this is triggered by a number of things like change in the temperature, change in the mode. I'm explaining all of that in the other video. And when this is triggered, I'm updating the heating switch. And what I'm doing is, I'm checking all the temperature sensors in the house. And I'm getting the minimum temperature and information whether some of them are below the target temperature or if all of them are indeed above the target temperature. So I get that and I get the mode, right? And based on that, if the temperature is lower than some minimum threshold I think I have it set to 10 degrees, I will just turn on the heating. If the mode is on, then I turn on the heating. If the mode is off, I turn off the heating. And if the mode is auto and someone is home, then I turn on the heating as well. So if I pass that, then I am basically in the situation where I am controlling the heating based on the temperature. Here I was doing it basically based on the mode or the minimum temperature threshold as a first thing. So forget about the force now, but what I'm doing is, if the heating is on, and if the temperature in all the rooms is above the threshold, then I will turn off the heating. And if I'm not heating and the temperature in some rooms is below the threshold, then I will turn the heating on. And just for your information, the threshold for turning it on and turning it off, there is like a 1 degree difference. So I'm not constantly turning it on and off. And the reason I'm showing it to you is to demonstrate that, yeah, it's programming, but if you look at that, even as a non-programmer, it's not that difficult, isn't it? Let me show you the second important part, which is the updating the thermostats. Again, very easy. I am getting the information about the vacation. So am I in the vacation mode or not? And what is the temperature for the vacation? Because the vacation is valid generally for all the rooms once this is set. And then I'm walking through all the rooms, and in all the rooms I am reading what is the temperature of the sensor. I am checking the state of the switch between the day and the night, between the high and low, whether this is on or not. And I'm reading the high temperature and the low temperature, right? Then I'm checking whether I'm heating or not. If I'm heating, I say the mode is heating. If not, then I'm saying the mode is off. And with all that, I go through all the thermostats. And for each thermostat, I check if this is vacation. I set the thermostat to the vacation temperature. I say what is the current temperature in that room, and I will update it with the mode. And if I'm not in vacation, if this is the high temperature, so the day-night is on, then I'm setting the temperature for the high temperature. And if it's not day, then I'm setting it for the low temperature. So this is the introduction to the related video where I walk you through the whole script. I have explained you to two main parts, but I thought I'm going to talk about it here as well, because hopefully you will realize that this is not a rocket science. This is actually rather simple. So let me know in the comments whether you understood, whether you find it interesting or complicated, or you had no idea what I'm talking about. I'll be really interested to hear that. And that's how the automation works. It was an evolution. I think also thanks to making this video, I have improved that. Initially, I had a number of things hard-coded in the AppDaemon, but I was thinking how to make this video interesting, and as part of that, I have actually changed a number of things, and I have created this dashboard with those controls, and I made it, I think, much better than it was before. So thank you for that as well, because if it wasn't this video, I would have probably left it the way it was. This ends the video about heating. I thought I'm gonna make those 4 videos. I'm gonna end it there, but I have a number of questions in the comments, so I will make another video where I'm gonna go into how I made my automation in Home Assistant about the lights, and I will also make another one about the garbage collection, how to use it, how to configure it, because this is the integration I made, and I think I will continue because I like that. I will make some future videos as well. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the future videos, and see you later. Bye.